Judge Joseph T. Burke, how are you?
How are you, gentlemen? It's good to be alive.
Wait a minute, gentlemen.
Thanks for
Who's he
joining
talking to? That's not us. That's for darn sure.
Must be Brian.
It's got to be
Brian's-
so. Yeah, that's
Brian's the gentleman.
that used to being called a gentleman. Good grief. So, all right, let's talk about you here, and appreciate you coming on tonight, and really, really appreciate it. All right, let me just give a quick introduction to you. All right, because you, and I'm talking about Judge Burke.
Do I need an intro, Joe?
Do you need an intro? Not much. You don't need. You don't need much. Okay, born and raised in Bay Village. How's that? Bay Village.
Yeah,
So
all right.
some people, if you're from Northeast Ohio, you know where Bay Village is. If you're not from Northeast Ohio, you probably don't. You went to St. Ignatius High School. I got to give you a thumbs up for that. You have 3 daughters and 3 dogs. Your wife is Michelle. You've been married 15 years. Does that sound right?
I think it's closer to 17 now.
Ah, okay. How time flies.
Yeah.
You love and cherish spending time in Lake Erie.
Yes.
I assume that means fishing as well as boating. Is that right?
It does. Absolutely.
Okay, so your claim to fame, let's talk about this here. You ran a race about 1.5 years ago to become the Rocky River Municipal Court judge, right?
Correct.
Okay, I got the numbers here, and it was a close race. You won by 280 votes.
Actually, Joe, I won by 178 because after the election, they mysteriously found 950 ballots in Bay Village that were unaccounted for in a memory stick. So they had to process those. And after they did so, my lead went down to 178. Then it went to an automatic recount.
Wow.
But it did not change. So,
Okay, I do
yeah,
want
it
to
was
point
close.
out there were 42,000 votes were cast,
Right.
and to win by 170. That tells you how important every single vote is.
Absolutely.
Absolutely important. And people don't
And-
realize
and-
that. 42,000 votes, and you won by 170 when it was all said and done. So congratulations to that. You also have 31 years experience as a trial attorney. So
33 before I was elected, now 34 as a judge, but yes.
Okay, 34.
Yeah.
So lots of experience and everything. Let's talk about what's on the horizon here with the Ohio Republican Party, because you're vying for Jennifer Bruner's seat on the Ohio Supreme Court.
That's correct.
There are 5. We also have 5 other judges, or maybe 5 including you. Can't keep track. 4 or 5 that want that to go up against Jennifer Bruner as well. And the Ohio Republican Party is going to eventually choose one of those judges, so there won't be a primary.
Correct.
There won't be a primary. Too expensive. Judges fighting each other doesn't look good. So whoever is chosen, I think the other judges have just did a gentleman's bet and said we're going to move aside, and whoever the Ohio Republican Party chooses, they're the nominee for November to go up against Jennifer Bruner and to get the last seat that the Democrats hold on the Ohio Supreme Court. A lot of people don't realize this, but we got 6 of the 7 seats.
Right.
We're trying to go 7 for 7. So that sounds pretty much what you're up to here, correct? So let's
Yes.
talk about that. You're going from a municipal judge to the Ohio Supreme Court. Seems like a little bit of a gap. Would you agree with that or not?
No, I wouldn't agree with it because number one, I practiced law for 33 years before I was elected. And not only that, I clerked with 3 different judges right out of law school. I clerked at the Supreme Court of Hawaii for a Supreme Court justice. I clerked for a judge of the 8th District Court of Appeals, and I clerked for federal judge. All judges at different levels: trial court, Court of Appeals, Supreme Court. And then I practiced for a lot. Tried a number of cases. A very rich practice. I also argued 3 cases in the Ohio Supreme Court It's really my claim to fame. And just so you know, the House Supreme Court takes less than 10% of all cases for jurisdiction. They only take cases of great import, not capable of repetition, or that are capable of repetition. So to get there, some attorneys go their whole career, don't have one. I had three. And it wasn't luck or happenstance. It was very strategic. I looked at issues early on. I decided I wanted to highlight those issues and make them my theme. Then I made the record around it, and I played the long game. My second case, Kona, took 8 years from the trial court to when the Court of Appeals issued its decision. And I represented all the clients in every level, so I didn't just do the oral argument. So I have the background and experience to do exactly this job, which entails a lot of legal writing and legal analysis. So I would say that what the Supreme Court justices do is they essentially write opinions. And I have 21 reported cases in my career. I've had a lot of extensive trial and appellate experience. So it wouldn't be much of a transition. And then I would say with Justice Dieters, he broke the model. If you recall, he was never even a judge when he was appointed.
Oh, good point. Yeah, I forgot all about that. Judge, yeah, that's right. Yep. Dieters was appointed, but he was never a judge, was he?
Never a judge.
Right. Okay, but he's on the Ohio Supreme Court now. But it's more than just what? It's more than just being a judge and handling cases. There's a few other important items. Let's talk about winning, because it doesn't do you any good. Like when you won that last election by 170 votes, if you had lost by 5 votes, there's no second place when it comes to campaigns. And so what the Republican Party is looking for is also somebody who can win, somebody who can campaign and win. So how would you stack up with that?
So I would say, number one, I'm only one of 6 Republican judges in our entire Cuyahoga County, Joe, and you live on the east side. That's mind-boggling. We have one Republican judge at the common pleas level. I won in a primarily Democratic area. And how did I win? I won because I outworked, I outspent my opponent, and I made sure the voters knew that I was, the most experienced, qualified candidate. I also worked hard, and I brought a little prop here. I walked 750 miles, Joe. I kid you not, door to door in the 5 cities, okay? And I kept this little calendar. I actually started in April. I didn't start tracking it till June. And I would track each day how many miles I walked, okay? 750 miles. I walked with a college kid. I mean, it was like very rote. I mean, this is like pull up your sleeves. And if you think you're too good for a judge, no, I didn't. I walked out there. And by the way, when I ran off your community court election, I'm thinking low turnout generally. Well, what happens? We had issue 1, abortion was on the ballot. We had issue 2, marijuana on the ballot. And next thing you know, it went from 27% voter turnout to 58%. So my messaging had to change because I had a lot more people out there. It was incredible. I had literally, I grew up in Bay, I live in River. I had people tell me to get off their property because they found out I was a Republican candidate. And they were so upset about abortion up here. True story.
You're right, though. This area, there's a lot of Democrats. It's like everywhere. It's Democrat infested. But for a Republican judge to win, that does say a lot. And I'm going to give it to these other guys for a second. But one other thing, too. What about collecting money, donations, things of that nature? Where would you stack up with that?
So it's interesting. If you look at the campaign finance reports, my limits were $600, which is the individual limit. And I raised, I believe I raised $52,000, which is a lot of individual contributions. And I'm in 5 cities. Now, it's a very dense population. And, you would look at the other candidates in the race, and they don't have that. They have not proven they can fundraise like that. And they're in, red counties, big counties, population 1.5 million. So it's critical now that the party is on the name of the ballot that you have to be able to go out and campaign and fundraise. You have to work a room. And these aren't sexy races, so people don't generally like to give money. I mean, it's not like his governor thing. So you really have to work the state very hard, and I've done that. I've appeared in about 40 counties in the last 6 months. Met some wonderful people, good, honest, modest people that are conservative, that I've really enjoyed. And so that's the other part of it. You have to be able to raise money, and you have to be able to campaign. We have to win.
And you got to be outgoing, and you have that outgoing spirit. I was at the Lincoln dinner here in Cuyahoga County, and you were up there on the podium, and you were talking, and you were very vibrant and enthusiastic in the whole works. So we got that. Brian, do you have a question for the judge? He could be the next Supreme Court judge.
Yeah, every time that I've heard a judge on the political stump, a lot of them say, "Well, I really can't answer that question because that issue may come before me, and I would have to recuse myself or something like that." So, one of the basic questions I ask a judge, a candidate for a judge, what's the role of government? How would you define the role of government in our system?
Good question. I think it's a great question. So Article 3 of our Constitution basically has separation of powers. We have the executive branch, legislative, and judicial. Okay? And so on the judicial side, you don't want to overstep your province. My philosophy in terms of what judges should be doing is to interpret the law, not make the law. That's what we have the legislature for. And so, we have to respect the boundaries of each. We do have the opportunity to rule on constitutionality of statutes, but it's a fine line. And I think that's what the framers came up with, is that, you look to the Constitution, you look to plain language when you interpret things. So I think I'm mindful. My philosophy is to be mindful of the branches and what our role is. And, we are not here to legislate. We're not here to create law. We're here to interpret the law and whether a statute is constitutional. So that's really the role of, I think, the judiciary and the political process.
Thank you very much.
Get Jonathan in here. Do you have a question for the judge? And remember, you might be standing before him in Rocky River with your speeding ticket.
Uh-oh. Well, I better watch myself in Rocky River. Not far from Bay Village, where I was disallowed to speak before the school board. But that's a topic for another podcast. So the first thing I want to say, I've brought it up before. It comes up periodically during this podcast. A man by the name of Dan Schultz and I have been advocating for and training the nation on precinct strategy for 2 years nationally. I'll be representing Ohio in a few weeks, talking about the importance of filling the Republican Party with constitutional conservative Republicans. That's what I advocate for. When Joe brings up the fact that a nod from the Republican Party, from the ORP, for our next Supreme Court justice is that powerful, that the Ohio Republican Party ultimately is going to make the decision on behalf of all of Ohio, that's the sort of thing that I'm talking about. And I want people to take this seriously. If you're not already following Precinct Strategy, find me on social media, engage in the conversation, and find out about all the important things that happen day to day, ongoing, most of it at the local level where you live, that impact things like this. Now, that's my advocating for precinct strategy and for filling the Republican Party, especially in Ohio, with solid Republicans, because we need that. As far as my question, I think I want to phrase it this way. I've had the great opportunity to speak with a number of judges before and during their bench, so a few Supreme Court justices, and it seems that during the campaign trail, there's a lot of talk about the constitutionality of measuring, of being objective in review of the law and not officiating or legislating from the bench. But I see so often there are people that I don't know what it is. It's just maybe the power of the position takes over and they get excited And I feel, and I think there's some universal concern about judges who do overstep and legislate from the bench, especially if they're politically motivated. So I think that I want to ask the question, what do you think should be available as a recourse to the public to rein in the powers of judges who overstep?
Well, I think ultimately they're elected. So, I mean, that is the ultimate arbiter. So if someone is not, if a party is not satisfied with someone, they can primary that person, but ultimately the voters elect them. I would say this, gentlemen, there's an age limit for judges in Ohio. It's 70. There's no age limit for president or governor, but there is for that. I don't have a problem with the age limit. I almost feel like there should be term limits for judges. I mean, I don't know if judges should be serving on the benches for 30 years. It's time to let somebody else know. So, but I think ultimately it's about elections. And then if people aren't happy, then there's a constitutional process and they can be voted out. And I think you're seeing that happen. And let me give you one example, because I am not a frivolous person. So when I say don't legislate for the bench, my last Supreme Court case was called Beverage Holdings. And it was a real estate contract, commercial real estate contract. And in dispute was one sentence in the contract. And I won in the trial court, went to the 8th District. I initially won 2-1. They said the language was clear and unambiguous. You win. And there was a dissenting judge who wrote a scathing dissent saying, hey, listen, the contract may be clear and unambiguous, but it could lead to a manifest absurdity and a bad bargain. So the judges should be able to rewrite contracts. The other side picked up on that, filed a motion for reconsideration, and the other judge who voted in my favor flipped. So I went from winning 2-1 to losing 1-2. So then I filed my own recon, which was denied. And then I asked for an en banc saying, hey, listen, your new decision's in conflict with other precedent in the 8th District. They granted it, and they said no further briefing is required. Then the person who wrote the dissent announced that they're running for the Ohio Supreme Court. And it was Melanie Stewart. And then all of a sudden I get an entry that there was no longer a majority that thinks this case is in conflict. And in that particular case, if you can't rely on written contracts, and we have the Wild Wild West. And that was a clear case, I believe. I can talk about this because it's my case, where we had judges rewriting contract law, not based on contract precedent, but because they felt they could lead to a bad bargain. And that was going to eviscerate 150 years of contract jurisprudence. I won that case in the Ohio Supreme Court. Justice Stewart was elected. It was interesting. She had to recuse herself. But there's an example of me not just saying, I don't legislate. I took to task this particular court for what they did. And ultimately, the Supreme Court got it right. So I just want you to know that, I walk the walk and I talk the talk.
Right.
That's a great example. Thank you.
Let me ask you a question, Judge. You were bringing up age and everything. And let's talk about Pat Fisher, if we could, for a minute, if you want to get into that at all.
Yeah.
But Pat Fisher is already an Ohio Supreme Court justice. So he is on the bench right now. But he also wants to go up against Jennifer Brunner. Now, he's almost 70. And his reasoning is if he can beat Jennifer, then he could stay on till probably 74 or something. What's your thoughts on that? Is that a problem, or do you not have a problem with that? Just curious.
No, listen. Justice Fisher has been a fine justice, so in no way would I ever denigrate what he's done. But I am fundamentally opposed to what he's doing. So what happens is, so everyone understands, his current seat ends in 2028. At that point, he'll be 70. He cannot run again under Ohio law constitution. You're age 70. So what he's doing is trying to run for this seat in 26, so that ultimately he'll get 4 more years on the bench. And my feeling is we have age restrictions for a reason. I think that if the State Central Committee endorses this policy, it's going to be a dangerous precedent going forward. You're going to have judges, not only in the high court, but Court of Appeals and common pleas, jockeying so they can get more years out of it. And I just think fundamentally it's a flawed concept, what he's trying to do. He's been a great justice. Thank you for your service. But the only thing I see out is he gets 4 more years. But it's a precedent that I'm really concerned about, and I think everyone's taken it very seriously. So that's my most tactful way in saying I respect Justice Fisher, but I'm not sure everyone has embraced what he's doing.
All right, Brian, I'll give you a question here before we wrap it up. Do you have a question?
Yeah, Judge, just a basic personal question. Have you enjoyed being on the bench? Has it been everything that you thought it would be when you first started? It has been.
I love it. I am so blessed to be where I'm at. In Rocky River, we have 5 cities I serve, and what I can do is I can touch people's lives. People with addiction issues, they're usually not serious because they're in muni court or they're younger, and I can change the arc of their lives. And when I do so, it's the most gratifying experience of my life. So I absolutely love what I'm doing. The Supreme Court has always been my dream. And the reason why is because then we can create case law that benefits the whole citizens of Ohio. So, it's on a broader range where you can change the arc of lives. So I'm very blessed to be where I'm at. I love what I'm doing. It's changed my life in a very good way. I was a great attorney. I'm so grateful to be here. And also one of the things, guys, I just want you to know that, listen, I didn't grow up as a blue blood. Okay. My father didn't go to college. He was a truck driver. He ended up owning a trucking company, ended up being in 3 states. He was very modest. So I didn't come from, my dad wasn't a lawyer, but my parents made sure that all of our kids had education. And I am so grateful for that opportunity because I took advantage of it. And I learned. And the other thing about a justice, I just think you need for a justice, it isn't a training ground. It isn't like I wanted, the next stepping stone. It's for somebody who's been there, done that, has demonstrated in their career that they've seen it all. Criminal and civil cases, tried cases. I've got more experience than every other candidate except for Justice Fisher, and he's got me beat by a couple of years. So I think that's really what it is. It's not learn on the job. It's been there, done that. You got a little gray hair. Life experiences are important. So that's the kind of the picture that I want people to understand is that we have to make some serious decisions. And you want somebody who's been there, been in the trenches. And I feel like I'm that person.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Say good luck to you.
Yeah, good luck to you. Jonathan, I'll give you the last question here tonight. Go ahead. If you would.
Give a good one, Jonathan.
All right. Thinking on my feet here. So tell us about what you feel is the most impactful case, an important case that you've presided over.
Well, I've handled so many. I would say the Beverage Holdings was a huge case because what in jeopardy was 150 years of contract law that the 8th District was trying to eviscerate. And again, if you can't rely on contracts, you have nothing. But my first case in the Ohio Supreme Court was called Guadalupe, and it was actually set the standards for criminal motions to suppress. And that one benefited the most, more citizens in the state of Ohio because what they were trying to do is get away from hearings, make it more onerous for litigants to challenge motions to suppress. And so that case said, no. It's about due process. Remember, we are judges. It's about fairness. We want to make sure everyone has due process and they're heard. And so the Guadalupe case set forth the standards for criminal motions to suppress. And so it was one of the most significant cases in 20 years. And I'm very grateful to have been successful in that. So I think that was the case that really benefited, most Ohioans. Because, we're umpires, but people want to be heard. And that's what I found in my courtroom. Most of my defendants, they just want to be heard. They just want to be listened to. And I take that time. And I listen to them. because oftentimes they have negative connotations of judges and courts, and I listen to them, and it makes all the difference in the world when I can connect to that person. And I meet my defendants wherever they are. And that's what I think judges should be doing.
No, you're right. You are absolutely right. Spoken like a real judge. I mean, I think you did a great job there. Well, I want to thank you, Joseph, for coming on here tonight. Really appreciate it. And
It's
best
Joe.
of luck.
Thank you.
Best of absolute luck for you. The one thing I will say is also it's important for judges to be outgoing. That helps with the campaigning. That helps with getting votes. Blah blah blah. And I can see that you're very outgoing, and that's a big plus, right? So thanks again. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. The best judges were the ones who were in private practice because they know what it is to hustle.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
Got to get
I
into the
appreciate your time.
real world in order to do it. Well, thank you again. God bless
Thank you, guys.
Take care.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you,
All
Judge.
right. So.